Yo, welcome into a brand new episode of the Review at Rob Show. Appreciate you joining in to hanging out with me on this week's episode. Going to be doing a spoiler-free review of a Terrifier 3 as well. Going to give you some news about what's happened at New York City Comic Con with the DCU, man. James Gunn gave us some details. We're going to be talking about that. But again, appreciate you joining in here, man. Let's, without further ado, go into the movie of the show, Terrifier 3. There is that poster for you. The film is in theaters. It is a holiday horror mystery thriller film. Runs in 2 hours, 8 minutes. In the film, Art the Clown returns, determined to turn holiday cheer into a new nightmare. The festive season quickly unravels as Art unleashes his twisted brand of terror, proving that no holiday is safe. Terrifier 3 is unrated, man. So that is the talk. This is the big film in the horror world that just has got all the hype around it. Gets talked about a lot. Does very good business. Did very well in the theaters. And it's taken a while. I did see this movie as a double feature. Last week's review was Saturday night. Hopefully check that out. If not, please check it out, man. But I did double feature that and this movie, Terrifier 3. And I wanted to take some time with Terrifier because the film, to me, I haven't fully understood the hype train that is Terrifier. Like, I've seen the other two movies and I get it. They're bloody, they're gory, they're over the top, they're insane and all that. And then three, pretty much follows the same thing, maybe even more. Actually, definitely more brutal than the other films. Not for the weak of heart, and not easy to watch for a lot of people. Very gross, right? So, but I haven't fully understood the hype train behind Terrifier. I'm not fully picking up on what it is that people are getting behind with the film and what they're overly enjoying. So I wanted to take some time before I jumped into the Terrifier 3 because I don't want to overly judge and be like, man, this is too overhyped. I hate it because it's overhyped and people are giving it way too much attention or anything. I wanted to take time to sit on the movie for a while and all that. So going in to this movie, I did watch the other two Terrifier movies again. And first movie is kind of just a movie. You know, two and three are the joint stories, if you will. The plot is definitely missing bits and pieces. There's information that we need that they haven't really given us throughout any of the movies, but it is what it is. It's slasher movies, so I don't want to be overly judgy. Not saying slasher movies can't be good and strong in a story, but sometimes you're just there to see the kills, right? And I think that's what we get into with these Terrifier movies in particular, is that they're kind of like Saw, the Saw movies. Now, Saw, first three movies at least, had a pretty good story, and the whole series does have like a story that is connected, but it kind of starts losing its bits and pieces and starts becoming, what kind of crazy contraption can we put in this movie, and how brutal and disgusting can we get? Oh, yes, there will be blood and all that stuff that happened with the Saw franchise, which I kind of feel like that with Terrifier, in the sense of how over the top and insane can we get with the movies and all that, which again, not necessarily a bad thing. If you're into horror, you're into these things and all that. So that's kind of the route I was on with Terrifier for a little bit. So I watched this movie. I've sat on it for a little while. Again, this is the third Terrifier film. There was the short movie a while ago that didn't have the same person playing Art the Clown. So didn't really want to watch that or anything like that. I just want to stick with where we're at with the Transformers Terrifier franchise, and just try to pick up on the things and all that stuff. So first off, with Terrifier 3, the film itself, I do like the Christmas aspect. That's, kind of out of nowhere. I knew for a while it was going to be a Christmas movie, but kind of just out of nowhere, let's just go and do a Christmas film, drop it in October. But they've released films earlier than that before. So that's not the point. That's not the thing to worry about. But interesting idea, interesting concept and all that. And I started seeing all the press about the first 10 minutes of the movie. And they're like, "Oh, it's so disgusting. People are walking out. People are, throwing up and all that stuff." And I'm like, "Okay, all right, cool, interesting." This reminds me of a time way back in the day with horror films. Of course, we've seen so many horror movies now, but back in the day, horror movies were very much, shocking and scary for a lot of people, and they still can be now. But I think we've got so much horror films now that a lot of people have become desensitized, or they know the bits and pieces and all that stuff, but they can still be scary to certain people for sure. And so when I heard that, I'm like, cool, let's see it. And then I did watch the first 10 minutes. I was like, okay. And again, maybe I'm just desensitized. I watched a lot of horror movies. But I get it. It does get and no spoilers, but it does get, to aggressive areas like the Terrifier films tend to do. And we're killing people you don't necessarily see killed in films all that often. So nothing new to the horror realm. I know a lot of people are freaked out about it. It's nothing new. It has happened in other films, but there is, I guess we can just say it, there is death of children in the movie. And again, it is a movie, but it's not real life, but it is a movie. And it's nothing new. You've seen it in horror films, you've seen it in other movies. Like, that's nothing new. So people freaking out about it, yeah, I guess they don't watch enough movies. I don't know. But that stuff has kind of been freaking people out and having them feeling uneasy during the movie, which I can get. There's a shower scene in the movie that's very violent and all that. That's kind of the Terrifier's milieu, if you will. That it does push the envelope. It pushes that edge and goes over and over and over and over again. And it is very violent, very insane images. And if you have a strong stomach and aren't queasy or wheezy and all this stuff, good on them. They're pushing the envelope. They're doing some interesting things. Maybe that's why. We'll get to that after there. So this film itself, and what I like about the other movies, that they do kind of blend into each other very easily. They all, where one movie ends, the next movie starts. I do like that a lot. I appreciate that, especially when you're doing one, two, three, and all those kind of things. So I like that. The story is a continuation of what happened in Terrifier 2, so definitely see Terrifier 2 if you haven't already. And it's part of part 1 as well, but it's mostly following Terrifier 2 and our two survivors from Terrifier 2. So mild spoilers there if you haven't seen Terrifier 2. But Sienna's our final girl, and we're following her now. And then, when, like I mentioned earlier with the plot, when there's, definitely holes and there's information we need and they need to explain things a little bit better, I do like what they've done with the um, survival and surviving this traumatic incidents that they went through in part 2, and how they're trying to rebuild their life and get through their life now after the events of what happened then, and then the effects that all has on it, the post-traumatic syndrome and all that of the things that they've gone through. So I think they did a good job telling a story there and everything. It's just, I think the thing with Terrifier that we're kind of overly judging and missing out on, especially when we go to like story aspects, I think a lot of people mostly remember the violence in the movie as opposed to the story that's being told. There is a story there. Again, it's missing some information, but there is a story there that does work for what they're doing. Like, I get what they're doing. I get what they're putting together. They're doing they're doing fine. They're doing fine with it. My thing is, so overall the movie to me was fine. Like, I don't, not overly over the top hyped up about it, but I'm not gonna hate it either. Like, it was fine. It was entertaining enough. Seeing people in the theaters gasping and all that stuff, seeing videos come out of people like, I can't believe you told me this was a family movie. That stuff. I'm glad they pushed the edge in this movie with things that we don't necessarily see too often this day and age, unless you're like watching deep cuts of horror films somewhere or any movies. It's hard to find some of the stuff they do in these movies. So they push the envelope. They do a good job with all that stuff. Art the Clown is an interesting character. When we want to get into talks about horror icon status and all that stuff, we can have that conversation with Art the Clown. I think at this point he's been around. He's had enough movies, and they're successful films. This movie hit number one. It's made a ton of money already in a short run. Didn't stay at number one. Smile 2 came out over the weekend. That became number one, but I think it was number 2 and very close. So it's one of those things where, some people are either going to love it or they're going to hate it, which is, obvious for all kinds of movies and anything, music, anything in the world. You're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. And, it just depends on what you can stomach and deal with. But I like the Christmas scenes in here. I think, there's a lot of gory, insane moments in the movie, of course. Um, find enough story. Again, I need more information. You need to give us a little more information, but find enough story. I get what you're telling. I like the play on the survivor aspect and how they're getting through it, and how will they be able to get through in the post traumatic of everything they've gone through, because obviously that's going to be something you're going to deal with. We've seen it at Halloween, seen it in other horror movies, seen it in other movies in general. So get that. Good concept, works fine, enjoyable enough. It's just a matter of what your stomach can handle and what you can enjoy watching. But other than that, it's fine. I will say, While it is bloody, violent, and all that stuff, there is comedic parts of it, mostly through Art the Clown. He does stuff in the film that did have me laughing in the theater, without a doubt. So, um, enjoyable. It's one of those sick, enjoyable kind of movies. Like, if you're into crazy things, you're gonna enjoy the movie. It's easy to watch. It's not all that long. It's fine to get through. So yeah, I'm glad I sat on it because right after I got out of the movie, I was still kind of like, what is the hype of this character? Why are people so invested in this? What is it about it that people are going insane about? Maybe it is the Art the Clown character because again, I've seen him at Comic Cons through over the weekend. We've had a post on the Throwaway Podcast Network shorts with an Art the Clown character at a Comic Con. We see him throughout other Comic Cons. We've seen him dress up as Art the Clown at a Comic Con going around, which is a really cool video. Maybe that's kind of harpened or lessened my, I wouldn't say hate, but my just unknowing of what it is that people enjoy about it. Like I think seeing that video and seeing him go around it, and again, it's that underdog story kind of thing with the Terrifier franchise, where it is independent film, that has done good, and good on them. More power to them. I know people are like, "Oh, he took down the Joker." Art the Clown will never be as big as the Joker. The Joker 2 movie just did not hit with people. They decided to make a musical out of a movie that wasn't a musical before, and they took some decisions in it. I like that movie. I enjoy that movie, but it's what it is. But that doesn't mean Art the Clown's better than the Joker. I mean, let's be smart here. But it worked out. Joker was number one. Terrifier was number one for a week, and then now here, Smile was number one. Smile 2 is number one. So they've all had their time in the sun, and you're gonna like what you're gonna like. You're gonna enjoy what you're gonna enjoy. I think the Terrifier franchise and the icon status of Art the Clown again is worth talking about. I don't like the fact that people are like, this is the first horror icon we've had in 40 years. That's obviously not true. That's obviously not true. 40 years, we're talking freaking Freddy Krueger, and we're talking Chucky, and we're talking Scream, Ghostface, we're talking Sam from Trick or Treat, hell, Annabelle, the Warrens themselves, The Nun. There's plenty of horror icons that have come out in the last couple of decades. So not going to go that route, obviously, but I can see where he has to be talked about. Again, he's a huge success in the horror realm. There's no denying what that he has accomplished in the creation of Terrifier and the whole run of those movies so far, and there will be more. They're already working on a fourth movie. That supposedly will be the end of the story. We shall see. With horror films, it's never really the thing. Um, they never really end as long as they're successful. They always come back around at some point in time. Hell, we've seen horror movies called The End, and then here comes another one. So we'll see how it all unfolds and how it all works out and everything. But overall, man, I can't sit here and say that I love the movie, but I also can't sit here and say I hate the movie. And that seems to be the aspect that people go with. They either are very passionate and love the Terrifier franchise, or they very much hate the Terrifier franchise. Uh, I think I'm in the middle ground. I'm not even think I know I'm in the middle ground where like I get it, I understand it. Give me a little bit more, give me some more things to chew on, if you will. Give me a little more understanding of what's happening with some of these characters and all that. But yeah, good, good on them for making a thing, making it successful, and all that stuff. And again, maybe that's what it is. The underdog story. You get behind it, you're pushing it forward, you're seeing it succeed. It's like, oh, that's that movie I watched on Shutter, and it's like, oh, now it's in theaters, and oh, it's the number one movie in the world. Like it's a movement. Like it is a movement that I honestly don't hate anymore. Like at one point in time, and that's kind of the stupid thing in my brain, and I think it happens with a lot of people, where it's like if something becomes super successful out of nowhere, it's like, why? Why is that successful? I don't want to like it just because it's successful. It's a stupid thought process. But so it happens. But overall, man, Terrifier 3, again, for you, it depends on what your stomach is for horror films. If you're somebody who doesn't watch horror movies, not for you at all. Like, not for you at all. You're not the target audience for this movie. But it's an event, right? And a lot of people are talking about the things, which again could be very much brilliant marketing. Because again, first 10 minutes, over there's some stuff that happened in that movie later that's worse than the first 10 minutes. I get why people are upset about something that happens in the first 10 minutes. Perfectly understand that. But there's stuff that happens in the movie later that's a lot worse than what happens at the beginning. Um, But yeah, overall, I like it. It has mistakes. It's not without its flaws, but it's enjoyable enough. And now it's a movie you can watch during Christmas time, right? It's now a Christmas movie. So if you want to watch people getting brutally freaking dissected and torn apart and all this kind of this and that happening during Christmas time, Terrifier 3 is your movie. So there you go. That's my not so quick thoughts on Terrifier 3. But I wanted to, I'm so glad I took time before doing this review because I needed to sit on it. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did. It's the middle of the road for me as far as movies go this year. But if it's your favorite movie of the year, that's awesome. I'm happy for you, man. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Um, I'm glad it had something. That's cool, man. We all have our horror films that we love and enjoy, and nobody is right or wrong about what movie they want to enjoy and love. So, as long as it's not hurting anybody or anything like that, enjoy the film, man. Have a good time with the Terrifier, man. Because I do kind of like sitting here now where I'm like, and again, I think that Comic Con video, seeing him walking around as the character and just having fun is like, has just switched something in my mind where I'm like, good on him, man. Good on him. Good on you for all the success you've had. Good on, what's her name? Laura Lavera. She's doing a good job in those movies too, man. She's Sienna in the first two, well, in two and now three. It's She's doing good. Lauren Lavara. Lauren, yes, Lauren Lavera. She's doing a good job, man. So she's good. The whole cast is doing what they need to do in the movie. There's some disgusting stuff in the movie, but overall, good for them on what they created on their sixth, and glad they're having a successful time, man. That's awesome, and that's good for horror in general. Like having a horror film be number one 2 weeks in a row at the box office. And of course, it's Halloween time, spooky time. So having horror movies number one at the box office right now is fantastic. And we've got to give praise where praise is due. So congratulations to the Terrifier 3 team. I liked your movie. All right, so going from there, man, other horror news real quick. I mean, we've had a lot of trailers drop. The Wolfman trailer's officially come out, so you can check that out. The Strangers Chapter 2 has come out. I liked the other movie. I don't know why people are so mean about it, but Terrifier 2. The Strangers 2 looks Chapter 2 looks good. And then we had Werewolves trailer about werewolves. So there's a lot of wolves coming. So that looked good as well. Ready or Not Part 2 has officially been announced, and I think that's it horror wise. Okay, so that's it horror-wise. So now let's go to DC, and let's talk what's going on with the DCU. Again, the Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con took place. They had a DC panel over there at the New York Comic-Con. I'm going to give you a quick bits and pieces. I haven't seen the actual video yet. Hopefully I can find some of it on YouTube pretty soon. But just some quick notes I took down of what we have coming here. So Creature Commandos, we know that's coming at the end of the year, and they gave some more information on this. So there's an official trailer. There was a teaser trailer that came out a while ago. There's an official trailer out now for it. We also learned that people who have worked with James Gunn a good bit, Linda Cardellini, who you will know, of course, from Scooby-Doo or the Guardians of the Galaxy, or tons of things, and Michael Rooker, who you also know for a ton of things. So, Guardians of the Galaxy, Suicide Squad, freaking Days of Thunder, The Walking Dead. If you watch that, all kinds of things that he's been in. So those two will be guest starring in Creature Commandos. We also have learned that Kong Gorilla, Golden Gorilla, and Clayface, Batman villain Clayface, are among characters that will also appear in the series. Again, that series will be debuting December 5th on Max. Very excited about that. Can't wait to check that out. That'll be the first DCU thing we get going on, so I'm excited about that. Now, something they did tell us is that, quote, every single project out of the DC studios is going to be its own thing, end quote. Another quote saying it's a connected universe, but but we're not imposing on overall aesthetic. So each thing that's coming out while it's connected universe is going to feel like its own world. It's going to have its own aesthetic and all that stuff, which is awesome, man. Not a shot at Marvel here when I say this, but Marvel movies kind of all feel the same. And I know, like, sometimes we're in space, sometimes we're on Earth level and all that stuff, but they all kind of feel the same right? They kind of feel the same. They have that blueprint that they all use, and it kind of feels like the same. So I'm happy about that, and that we're going into this world where the DC movies are going to have like their own kind of aesthetic thing going on. Um, Saffron Gunn will also reference past DC events, so DC Extended Universe, the DCEU that took place before, obviously now the DCU is taking over, where we saw Superman, Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, all those things. There will be some references to those events, saying, "quote There are references to things that happened in the past, and those references then become canon in the DCU because we mentioned them." James Gunn explained, end quote. For example, Rick Flag. Rick Flag was a character in the Suicide Squad movie that came out before, and then James Gunn's The Suicide Squad that came out later. And spoilers, that character died in the Suicide Squad. That character will be mentioned in Creature Commandos as well, because there is a character played by Frank Grillo of Rick Flag Sr. So that is going to be mentioned. Those are things that will be mentioned like that. Um, So there you go. So they're first and foremost about, so quote, another quote here. This is first and foremost about story. We don't want anybody to come to Creature Commandos going, you have to watch the Suicide Squad to understand what happened in Creature Commandos, end quotes. Quotes, we want people to be able to come in this blind and then be totally excited about it, end quote. So while it's making references to past events, it's not necessarily, and I don't know why I have these coasters in my hand right now while I'm talking, but still a little nervous being on camera. But it's cool. I'm glad they're doing that, and it makes more sense now about things that we have learned and I've talked about on the show before, where we know that Xylo, who played Blue Beetle, we know that Blue Beetle is going to be in the DCU, but the movie's not necessarily canon. We know that Amanda Waller, who's been in the Suicide Squad films in the DCEU, is in the DCU. We have a Waller show coming with her in it, but she's not going to be that is not fully connected to the other things, but there'll be references. Peacemaker, we have season 2 happening in the DCU while season 1 happened in the DCEU. It now makes a little bit more sense. It's a little more, easier to comprehend that there's going to be references of past events that have happened. And that's why some of these people are still playing the same characters and all that stuff, but it's all going to end up making sense. So that's a good thing there. Speaking of Peacemaker, quote, it is a very different season, James Gunn says, describing it as very magical. Gunn has also revealed a first look at a mysterious new character and shared that this character, quote, is a way in to connect the DCEU and the DCU. It won't be confusing, end quote. So good. Again, I'm excited to see all this stuff. I know people can overly judge things before we see them, but I'm excited to see what the process is of how all these things are going to be working and what the connections are and all that stuff, because I'm in big bad way for DC, obviously. So I can't wait to see that. For Superman, he said, quote, it won't be too long, end quote, before the first Superman movie trailer. So when you're talking about the Superman trailer, it won't be too long, but it also won't be too soon. Which, fine, the movie doesn't come out till July of next year, 2025. So Super Bowl is my guess when you will see that trailer for the first time, which makes sense. That's fine. Super Bowl is when February, March. So probably the first time you see that trailer would be around then, which is fine. I think that's good enough. We don't need. I think we're getting too many trailers for things. We're getting a teaser trailer, then we're getting the first trailer, then we're getting a second trailer, then we're getting a final trailer that normally releases the week the movie comes out. Like we don't need all that stuff, man. Like we don't need all those trailers. So I'm fine waiting for a trailer for Superman. I'm already in. So it's cool. Other thing that has been revealed for the Superman film is Crypto, dude. We're getting Crypto Dog. Crypto, the Super Dog, has been something that has been amazing. We've been working with him in the edit. He's an incredible part of the story to me personally, end quotes. When I was writing the screenplay, came in and kind of changed everything up. So they're doing great there. Crypto will be a part of Superman, which is fantastic. He also goes on to talk about David Cornsweet, who is, of course, our Clark Kent and Superman and the Superman movie, saying that, quote, he's going to effing blow people away. I saved it because I'm a gentleman and I didn't want to cuss in front of you. I've cussed so many times on this show. Anyways, Gunn added that, quote, he's the movie star that everyone just dreams he could possibly be. I don't think anyone really understands the depth of the guy's talent for dramatically and comedically. He's the best physical action star I've probably ever worked with. I feel good about it, and I'm really hard on stuff, so it's been fantastic. End quote. Which is great to hear and all that. And I hope so much that it gets given the proper watching. What I mean by that is Snyderverse fans are going to hate it because it's not Henry Cavill. I get it. We all love Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill was fantastic as Superman, but we're in a new world. It happens. Characters change, and we're starting over. So hopefully, Superman will just get a new fresh start that he's getting, and people will let that fresh start live and treat it fairly. So that's my hope there. But I have no doubt that that movie is going to be insanely good. Let's see, Supergirl movie. We've got quote is a completely different, unique take on a superhero. Filming will begin in January of 2025 in the UK. So a little bit of Supergirl information there, but good to know. They'll start filming in 2025, which I like. They're not overly rushing anything. I saw James Gunn was asking questions like, "We'll be getting 3 films in the DCU next year." He's like, "No," and like, "Why would you do that?" or something like that. And I love that, man. Let's stop oversaturating. Let's let things live. Let's let them pace out. Let's take time. Let's not rush everything to make something. So I like that. And then finally, Lanterns. James Gunn said, "quote It's a much more very grounded series, a very real series," which is a strange thing to say about a Green Lantern show, but it's going to be something like nobody's ever seen before. End quote. I am ready for that as well, man. I'm ready to see the Green Lantern have its day on the screens after it's been the butt of so many jokes, man. So can't wait to see how Green Lanterns works out and all of that stuff. And that's, my friends, is going to do it for this episode. Appreciate you all so much. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you joining in and watching the show and hanging out with me and letting me geek out with you and give my thoughts on movies. I know we all share different opinions on things, which is perfectly fine. And we're just here to talk movies and have a good time and all that stuff. So appreciate you joining in. I also went to the WWE show. I'm going to say that at the top of the show. I went to a WWE show since the last time we talked. I went to WWE Friday Night SmackDown live in person. First time I've seen a TV televised show in a while. Normally get to see live event shows. Had an absolute blast. Kid you not. Before the show, like when the show was getting ready to start, goosebumps, almost teared up a little bit. I freaking love that stuff, man. I love that stuff to death. And just, it was everything. Had an absolute blast. So that was a fun time, man. Watch some other things. We'll try to figure out a way to review a lot of stuff. Got a lot of movies got to watch next week. Didn't get to see Smile 2 because of the before mentioned Friday Night SmackDown viewing. So I will see Smile 2 next week with Venom. So kind of like a double Smile feature, if you will. And I'll have separate reviews for both of those at some point in time. Um, Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh's movie, I think, is out now as well. So I got to figure out a time to see that. Things are happening, man. Things are happening. I went and bought freaking Spirit Halloween. I got a Freddy Krueger fedora. I got a Freddy Krueger claw, and all that stuff. Be on the lookout. I got a short coming. For all that stuff, short's already out. Hopefully, you've already watched that short, where I've had fun doing that as well. But just living, man. Just living, having a good time, and just doing what I love to do, man. So again, always appreciate you. I always say it on every single episode, and I mean it. I appreciate you taking the time to, watch this show now, and hopefully you support it. Give it like, subscribe, share with your friends, and all that stuff. Because this is the passion project for me. I love doing this. I love just trying to spread positivity and review things in a positive light and all that stuff, and talk about the things I love. And hopefully it finds you and you enjoy those things as well. So that's gonna be it for this episode. Terrifier 3 thoughts. If you saw it, let me know what you thought about it. And then what's happening with DC and some horror news thrown in there as well. But love it, man. Love it. Thank you. Hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, week, month, year. And as always, remember you right there, you watching this, you are amazing. Don't let nobody tell you different. If you're feeling bad about yourself, I get it. I understand it. Been there plenty of times myself. Gonna probably be there again. It happens. That's life. But remember, you are strong. You're capable. You're still here. There's stuff inside of you. There's stuff inside of you, man, that is going to build you to a future that you've always wanted and could always hope to be a part of and trust in. Trust in yourself, man. You have yourself to always trust in and believe in. And inside of you is the power to accomplish any kind of dreams you want to accomplish, as long as they're legal. But chase those dreams, live those dreams, fight for your dreams, fight for yourself, trust yourself, protect yourself, believe in yourself, be kind to yourself. because in the world we got ourselves, right? So take care of yourself, believe yourself, love yourself. You are enough. You matter. All of that. Like, you're important. But appreciate you all. Thank you for joining in. And remember, the happiness can be found even in the darkest of times if one only remembers to turn on the light. Talk to you all next episode.